Hey guys, Ricky here from Connerty Meadows Farm. Today, our video, I'm going to show you how I make our delicious waffles. Now, this recipe I will give you makes a lot less amount than what I've actually made today because I do batch cooking. So I will make a very large amount of waffles. And that way we can freeze them and then the kids pull them out as they need them. I do the same thing with pancakes and other items like that. That way I don't have to spend a little bit of time every day. I just do one big batch and we stick it in the freezer and they can take them out, split them in half, pop them in the toaster, and they're good to go. And the other thing that I really like about this recipe is I've modified it, as all of my recipes, from the original recipe that I was given to include our raw milk, which you don't have to use. You can use regular milk. We have our maple syrup in it. You can use honey or you can use sugar, and our homemade butter. I'm out of our own homemade butter. Can use store-bought butter, which I have done today.
And we also include our fresh eggs.
I will run through the recipe. I'll put it up on the screen and the recipe will be down in the description. So do keep in mind, I am going to give you the recipe for a single batch, but what you'll see me making throughout the video is for a large batch. So don't be surprised when my 4 eggs suddenly multiply to like a whole bunch of eggs. Your recipe and your bowls don't need to be as big as mine.
First thing in the bowl is going to be 2 cups of all-purpose flour. Now again, I multiply this batch and I actually use 1/4 of the amount of flour in whole wheat. So feel free to do that. I don't find it turns out really well when you use all whole wheat. Next up is 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and you want to just put that in with the flour, and then 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and then just stir that all together. The reason why you're stirring this is you just want to make sure everything is incorporated properly. You don't want any like big chunks of anything. So next up is 4 eggs. And we are going to crack and separate these eggs. So we're going to put yolks in one bowl and whites in another. And you can separate however you like. We have fresh farm eggs, so I actually can scoop the yolks straight out of the whites and toss them into another bowl. Now just make sure you have big enough bowls because we will be adding ingredients to the bowl with the yolks, and then we'll be beating the whites. And again, remember how I talked about how we have lots of extra. So we're also now going to add 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. You can add sugar or honey, either one works. And then we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm going to stir those all together. Then we're going to grab some milk. And I said I'm using raw milk. You can use store-bought milk. It doesn't make a difference. We're going to add 2 cups. And again, don't be surprised by my multiplication here. And then you're going to mix all of those ingredients together. Last thing you're going to do is you're going to grab 4 tablespoons of butter and you're going to melt it. And then once it's melted, you're going to pour it into the bowl and you're going to mix all of those ingredients together. Set that bowl to the side for a second and grab your flour bowl, and then you're going to mix to combine the 2 ingredients together. And don't beat this. This is just a nice slow mixing, and you want to mix just to combine. If there's a little bit of flour left that you can see, that is okay. This is not supposed to be fully incorporated, nor is it supposed to be beat. But we are going to beat the egg whites. So we want to beat these egg whites until stiff peaks form. And that's why I said you need to have a big enough bowl to handle the expansion of the egg whites. I miscalculated. I had to be very careful with this bowl. But if you don't know what stiff peaks look like, it just means that, as you can see here as I'm mixing, that there'll be a design left behind from your mixer. And yes, you can do this in the stand mixer. I just find it's easier. But you can see how stiff peaks mean that it's holding its shape. So the shape I left it is the shape it is. Now, we are going to take the egg whites that are beat and we are going to mix it with the rest of our ingredients. And you want to do this softly. This is obviously on like a time lapse, so it looks a lot faster than I actually am going, but just go nice and slow and easy. You don't want to beat down the egg whites that you just carefully put in. So I've put this on regular time so you can see how gentle I'm being to incorporate all these ingredients together. You want that fluffiness from the egg whites to be maintained. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get our waffle maker ready. You need to bring it to temperature, of course. Next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to oil your waffle maker. If you want to use an aerosol spray oil, go ahead. I use sunflower oil simply because it doesn't have a real big taste at all. If you use olive oil, you'll find that it changes the taste of your waffle. And you can see how it's already bubbling in the bowl while it waits to be cooked. And now I'm just waiting for my waffle maker to come to temperature. You just want enough batter in the waffle maker to cover the bottom, and then you wait. And I have it set to about 2.5, 3 on my waffle maker. Obviously, you can set it to whatever you find works best. The first waffle that comes out is always a little more wonky than the rest of them, because even though the waffle maker has come to temperature, I do find that it just works a little bit better from the second waffle on. And then you just do this on repeat over and over and over again until you're done. Now, obviously, I'm going to be doing this a lot longer than you if you're making a single batch, but that's okay. Just a scoop. I do a scoop on each side and then a scoop between them. That's what I found works for mine. You'll have to figure out what works best for you. At the end, the last waffle I make is always a little bit thicker. And I kind of have to hold the lid up, because if I just let it squish down, all the waffle will come out the back where that catch tray is. I mean, that's what it's there for. So I just lightly hold it up until the top cooks a little bit too. And then once it beeps, I do tend to leave this one on a little bit longer after the beep. There you have it. Those are all the waffles. Now, I tried to count them here, and what happened was, in my counting, the one on the very bottom is actually so squished, I couldn't actually count it in my final tally.
I quadrupled the batch and it made 27 sets of 2, in case you're trying to get an idea of how many it may or may not make. Obviously, the last one had much more, and you'll see that in the video. I'm holding it up.
So these guys freeze really, really well. Just make sure they're fully cooled before you stick them in the freezer, or you will get some condensation, which will lead to a little bit of ice in the bag, which you don't really want. It doesn't taste very good later. I just freeze them as flat as I can, and then it's super easy for the kids to grab them for a snack or breakfast whenever they would like.
Thanks for hanging out with us, and I hope that you try this out and you enjoy it. They are delicious. See you next time on the farm.